Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome on a Wednesday. It is a hoops hump day here on X's and Bros. Glad you're with us throughout the great state of Michigan. My name is Matt Shepard. Trent Bally is alongside as well. Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. And the text line is Sports Radio 21,000. Why a hoops Wednesday? Well, because of the trade deadline, and you're well aware of it by now. You talked about it a little bit yesterday on the huge show. We will dive into it here on X's and Bros. 8:18, Tim Hardaway Sr. joins us. And at 8:35, Hunter Patterson, our friend from The Athletic, joins us as well. The Pistons do swing a trade. That's the story. I suppose the Pistons winning their third in a row, 9 out of the last 11, and sweeping Denver for the first time since 2016-17 might be a big story. I think the bigger story, though, is that they've sent Jaden Ivey to Chicago as part of a 3-team deal that included Minnesota. The Pistons are going to get shooter Kevin Huerter, kid out of Maryland, and Dario Saric. I don't know if they keep Saric. I wonder if that's just like a salary dump, but we'll see. They swap protected first-round picks with the Timberwolves. As of right now, it would be 29 for Detroit, 23 for Minnesota. You move up 7 spots in the first round, or 6 spots in the first round. How much does that truly matter? Late round picks, how much are they really important? Like when you think about this, football drafts, late first rounders are starters for the most part. All right. Hockey, late first rounders, you don't know. You don't know about early first rounders, for crying out loud. I mean, look at Alexis Lafreniere for the Rangers. They're talking about trading him, and he was the first overall pick not too long ago. Baseball, it's hard to gauge as well. So I guess my question would be, in the NBA, how many late first round picks do you see and remember making an impact? And that's the whole thing with me when it comes to Detroit's possible moving on from their first rounders, because they've got their first rounders over the next 7. You think you're going to be that good? And I do. I think this team is built for long-term success moving forward with the young players. How many guys do you really truly feel are going to be an impact player as they move forward? I'll give you an example. Last year, the 25th overall pick was Jace Richardson out of Michigan State. Okay. The 29th pick was Liam McNeely out of UConn. How are they doing? I mean, Trent, I know, follows Jace Richardson, loves what he's all about, right? As the 25th overall pick. Doesn't mean if he's not, and he was really good at Michigan State, don't get me wrong, but how impactful has he been for an Orlando team that's barely above 500?
I think he's only getting about 12 minutes a game.
Right. He's averaging 5.5 points per game.
There you go.
Okay.
In 12 minutes of action. So it's not like he's a huge part of their rotation to begin with, let alone the impact in those minutes.
Right. So there you go. I mean, that's kind of how. Now, I know there are exceptions to rules. I understand that. All right. I'm just saying, when you look at it from that standpoint, I hope people look at it and recognize that's not the biggest part of the deal. The biggest part of the deal is that you get a shooter who can space the floor for you. Personally, I think it's a little underwhelming. I don't think it's what people expected when you trade a former 5th overall pick, a guy you saw who was really explosive at Purdue, and in his first couple of years, you would have guessed he would be a mainstay on this team. The injuries over the last couple of seasons, he was off to the best start in his career last year. He was off to a great start in the first 30 games, and then he breaks the leg. And he has not been able to bounce back. He has not recovered at all. You know, it's a tough spot for him, obviously. It's a tough spot for the organization. You use that high of a draft pick on a guy like Jaden Ivey, you expect him to be your guy for a while. And it just never seemed to fit with Cade Cunningham in the backcourt, did it? Not that they had anything against one another. Their games just didn't mesh. And I think with Pistons fans, and I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush here, because maybe some of you really like the deal. The interesting thing is that maybe it's the name and the production. If you associate the production with Kevin Huerter, if you're looking for a way to improve this team from a shooting standpoint, keep this in mind. Jaden Ivey has been, percentage-wise now, a better three-point shooter this year than Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter, and I don't know how you look at it from a three-point standpoint. Do you look at total threes? Do you look at three-pointers per game? I look at it three-pointers per game, okay? What kind of impact is he going to make in that realm? Maybe that's not fair. Maybe we should just look at him as a shooter, a mid-range jumper as well. He averages under 2 triples a game. So does Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey shoots at a better clip this year. Career-wise, it's minimal difference. It's not like you're getting the replacement of Malik Beasley here. Just keep that in mind, all right? You're getting a guy who's going to, as I said, help spread the floor, open things up a little bit more for guys inside. A guy coming off the bench who can give you 12, 14 points per game. You're hoping? If you are looking for, if you think Cade Cunningham is Batman, and he is Batman, who's the Robin? Most people feel you need that moving forward to win a championship. Oklahoma City had it. The great teams of the past, Golden State, they've had it. Boston had it, right? Lakers have had it. Who does Detroit have? Unless you think Jalen Duren is the Robin. It's not Tobias Harris. It's not Duncan Robinson. I know you love Isaiah Stewart. It's not him. So I think that's what people are wondering a little bit about. And look, I said this for a long time. You don't think the Pistons need a major move? That's fine. I said, you may think differently when the other teams start to get involved. And the other teams have gotten involved. Okay? Boston traded for Nikola Vucevic. He's a good player. He's going to be a double-double guy for Boston. And Boston won over Dallas last night, even though Cooper Flagg went off yet again. Kid's been unbelievable. He's on a tear that has not been seen in this league for a long, long time. He's been unbelievable. It was a 110-100 final, but Flagg had 36 points, 9 boards, 6 assists. Awesome. He's so good. Anyway, Cleveland made a move. They bring in James Harden. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. I think there's a reason he's played on 6 different teams. I think he's a vagabond. I think he's an older offensive guy who plays no defense whatsoever, and I think he's a bad guy. I mean, I wouldn't want him on my team. But the dude can score, right? So he can score, and that's what people look at, and maybe that's what Cleveland needs. Not that this matters, but Jaren Jackson Jr., a name associated with the Pistons only in desire from Pistons fans, because it wasn't probably realistic, goes to Utah, which is a little strange considering where Utah's at in the standings. But either way, they made the move. So there's your deal right there. I want your thoughts on it, and that's the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day. When you look at the trade for the Pistons, grade it for us. A, B, C, or D. Vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. Again, we'll talk more about it with Tim Hardaway Sr. at 8:18, and we'll talk with Hunter Patterson at 8:35. Could this be the first of another move for the Pistons? So we'll ask that of Hunter Patterson a little bit later on. Hope you can stay with us. Pistons did get a nice win last night. We'll talk about that on the back end, and we will also talk about the Red Wings matchup tonight against Utah and why they're swimming upstream yet again. That's all coming up here on X's and Bros on a busy Wednesday, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth. Stay with us.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Huge here for the Huge Show that airs weekdays at 3. It's Super Bowl Week 2026 presented by DraftKings and the Huge Show, X's and BrO's and the Michigan Sports Network. They're going to give one lucky listener $1,000 in cash to wager on the big game on Sunday. Simple to enter. Just text DK to 21,000. Text DK to 21,000 and you'll be in the drawing Friday at 5:50 p.m. on the Huge Show.
Shop Meijer and bring more good to game day with Buy 5, Save 5 deals on Watch Party fan favorites. Mix and match and save $5 when you buy 5 or more go-to party items, like select varieties of DiGiorno frozen pizzas and Late July tortilla chips. 24 packs of select Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable, and Brawny paper towels. The Buy 5, Save 5 deals at Meijer. Now that's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Thanks for listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. You want to talk to Shep? Call us at 866-838-4843.
Only one sportsbook that is really built for the Super Bowl, and that's DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60. And it's going to put you right in the center of the biggest game of the year this Sunday. When anything can happen during the Super Bowl, DraftKings has your back. It's what they call the early exit. If a player goes down in the first half, somebody that you've bet on, you can still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. That is what they call the early exit. New to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 or $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So we invite you to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code HUGE to turn $5 into 300 bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility and restrictions do apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds are required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, you can go to dkng.com/audio for a limited time.
J.I., that's my brother. That's my brother for life. We were locker mates since I got on this team. We always sat next to each other. So to lose him, it kind of hurts, but it's, that's how it works. But I know wherever, I got to text him, wherever J.I. goes, greatness follows. He's going to be great. So I have no words for him. Love that guy.
That's Asar Thompson, who picked up an accolade of his own yesterday before the win over Denver, 124-121. Asar Thompson had 10 points on the day, 6 rebounds on the night, and 3 helpers plus a couple of steals and a block as well. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Thompson named Conference Defensive Player of the Month, posting 2.5 steals per game. He's 5th in the league in steals and 2nd in the league in deflections. Yes, they do keep that statistic. Pistons, as I mentioned, beating Denver last night, 124-121. Every Piston starter reached double figures, led by Cade Cunningham's 29 points, 10 assists, which is great. It's a great line, but what do I always do? I always also look at turnovers. He had 5 cough-ups. That's got to be better. Duncan Robinson popped in 20 on 6 triples. Jalen Duren had 19 points and 13 rebounds. The Pistons sweep the season series from a really good Denver team. Nikola Jokic did play. He had a double-double. And Jamal Murray was fantastic, including making some free throws down the stretch. But they sweep them for the first time since 2016-17, and they are going to host Washington tomorrow night. And then I think the Knicks come calling on Friday night. The Knicks are a team worth watching. They won again last night. They've won 7 in a row. They blew out the Wizards. And the Celtics are worth watching. They topped the Mavs for a 3rd straight win. Although, as I mentioned, Cooper Flagg was unbelievable. I gave you his numbers over his last 3 games. You ready? Cooper Flagg has averaged 39.7 points, 10.3 rebounds, 4.7 assists, shot 58% from the floor, 46% from 3, and averaged another 85% from the free throw line. Those numbers are really gaudy. First teenager in NBA history with 3 straight 30-point games. Do you remember at the beginning of the year, Trent, when Cooper Flagg started out and struggled a little bit? I don't know if you remember. Okay.
Very small sample size, and people were quick to judge.
Oh, my God. It was amazing.
Which is not really surprising, but yes, that's what people do.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yours truly included at times, right?
Well, I don't know. I think you both of us have been a pretty level head about those things. You could be upset at a guy in a moment. I have no problem with that. You can be upset at a guy over maybe a season that he wasn't good enough. That's cool too. But if you're going to pass judgment right away on whether or not that guy's going to be good, I think you better be careful. That's all I'm saying. And he struggled to start. Okay? Sacramento, his team lost. I don't know how much people want to blame him, but he only had 10 points, and then he had 18 points. He had 2 points in a loss to OKC, who's one of the best defensive teams in the world.
Yeah, that was his 4th game of his career. He was
Yeah,
1
and he
for
went
9 from the
he went
field
for
in that
9.
game.
Yeah, he went 1 for 9, 0 for 3 from deep. So it was a rough first month in October. And then he took off. And now he is figuring it out. Look at the numbers. If you look at his numbers, December, 24, 22, 19, 22, 42, 23, 24, 33, 27. Massive numbers, right? And massive numbers as of late as well, including a 49-point performance in a loss to Charlotte. But anyway, this isn't about Cooper Flag, but he's had a hell of a run. Knicks have won 7 in a row, and they have outscored their opponents by 173 points during that stretch, or by an average of 25 points per game. Just something to keep an eye on. It's the best differential over a 7-game span in that overrated franchise's history. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Yes. It's the best differential over a 7-game span in franchise history. So keep that in mind. They've been scoring a lot. The Pistons are one of the best defenses in the NBA. You already know that. Here's some support for you. Last night, they combined to have 13 steals and blocks. That's a combination of the two stats. On the season, they averaged 17. That, over the last 35 years, is the 3rd best in the history of the league. Not of the franchise, in the league. Averaging 17 blocks/steals per game, 3rd best of any team in the last 35 years. Only the 1998 Raptors and the 1994 Seattle Supersonics can boast something better. Something to look at moving forward. All right? All right. So you got the Pistons off tonight after winning last night and back in action tomorrow. And you got Asar Thompson winning Defensive Player of the Month, and you've got a trade. Maybe it opens the door for another. We'll talk with Hunter Patterson of The Athletic a little bit later on at 8:35. Red Wings close out the pre-Olympic break with a face-off in Utah tonight. They're coming off a 2-0 shutout against the Avalanche, but they lost to the Mammoth in mid-December 4-1. The Wings own 16 road kills on the year. Utah comes in having won 7 of 10. Detroit is now 4 points back of Tampa because Tampa won again last night using a shootout to edge Buffalo 4-3 for their 4th win in a row. They have been simply spectacular. And so has Nikita Kucherov, who in just 2026, once the calendar flipped, dude's got 11 goals. He's been unbelievable, right? We just started February, for crying out loud. And that's how good this dude has been. He is probably the biggest unsung star in sports. When you think hockey, and if people follow hockey, the two names that immediately come to mind are Connor McDavid and, of course, Nathan McKinnon. Probably Leon Draisaitl. You can go Austin Matthews. All right, we could go into a few names, but you understand, okay? Those are the superstar names. Nikita Kucherov is as good as just about anybody in the world. Plays in Tampa, consistent, league leader in a lot of different categories year after year, and he rarely gets mentioned, unfortunately. I'm as guilty as anybody else. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. You can always text the program 21,000, sports radio to 21,000. When we come back, I mean, we got some baseball to discuss as well coming up. So hope you're along for the ride on that. But I want your thoughts on the trade, okay? And maybe more to come. We'll discuss after this, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
Huge here for the Huge Show that airs weekdays at 3. It's Super Bowl week 2026, presented by DraftKings and the Huge Show, X's and BrO's, and the Michigan Sports Network. They're going to give one lucky listener $1,000 in cash to wager on the big game on Sunday. Simple to enter. Just text DK to 21,000. Text DK to 21,000, and you'll be in the drawing Friday at 5:50 p.m. on the Huge Show.
Football season's not over yet. You know that, right? There's still one massive game to go. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, recognizes that more than anybody else. They know you are into it. They know your passion. They want you to make every moment feel bigger. And with DraftKings live betting options, you can stay in that moment. You can live that moment bigger. Plus, DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half of the Super Bowl, you're going to get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire first half of the Super Bowl. Why would you bet player props anywhere else? New customers, here's your perfect chance in the big game. Bet $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code HUGE. That code is HUGE, H-U-G-E, and turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire within 7 days. For additional terms and conditions, go to dkng.com/audio for a limited time offer.
Shop Meyer and bring more good to game day with buy 5, save 5 deals on watch party fan favorites. Mix and match and save $5 when you buy 5 or more go-to party items, like select varieties of DiGiorno frozen pizzas and Late July tortilla chips. 24 packs of select Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable, and Brawny paper towels. The buy 5, save 5 deals at Meijer. Now that's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
35 after the hour. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Tim Hardaway Sr. joins us at 8:18. And at 8:35, we'll visit with Hunter Patterson, our friend from The Athletic. First and foremost, Freddie sends us his morning text. He says, the agent must be loving this. Should an owner be doing this with a player when clearly the GM didn't sign the player so you can run the team first? Rumors back then, Stan Van Gundy didn't want Drummond re-signed, and the owner was publicly saying to everyone he was getting whatever, paraphrasing. Big moment for JD. You put the work in. Now the world is on notice, earned, not given, a limit to what is possible. He's referring to Tom Gorse's tweet about Jalen Duren. I don't know who he's referring to as with a player when the GM didn't want to sign the player so he can show the team first. Maybe that he's referring to Duren and Ivy, because both guys, neither one of them came to an agreement with the Pistons and are restricted free agents at the end of the year. Jaden Ivey's not going to make as much as Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren's going to make a lot. He said, if you're starting an NBA team, you're starting with Wemby, Cade, or Flag. Wow. That's a difficult question to answer. That's a hell of a question. The reason it's hard to answer is because all those guys are first overall picks. So if they were all in the same draft, who would you start with?
I mean, for me, it's not that difficult. I go Wemby.
It's not that difficult?
No, not for me.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you can go wrong, but for me, no, it's not
right.
even close. It's Wemby.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. I think Cade Cunningham makes everybody around him better. Okay. Now you could argue with that, considering they won 14 games 2 years ago. You're probably right. I mean, Victor Wembanyama, because of his ability to stretch the floor, I mean, isn't that what everybody's looking for?
Yeah, he's tailor-made for the game right now.
Not a 7'3" guy per se, but they're looking for stretch 4/5s who can shoot from the outside. That's today's NBA game. Flag and Wembanyama both can do that. Now, Flag's not as tall as Wembanyama. Wembanyama's a three-point threat. He's a post-up threat. He's a defensive threat. He's an excellent defender, right? Those are all things that he brings to the table. Cade Cunningham's a three-point threat. Cade Cunningham can post up. And he's a decent defender. I think he's gotten better.
Yeah, and he's the better passer, too. That's the one thing he's got out of all three of those guys.
But don't you think that goes along with the fact that he handles the basketball so much?
Yes.
He's a better passer, but he also turns it over quite a bit.
Yep. And that's why, and I'm a huge Cade fan. And if you were to start your team.
This is not a knock on, that's not a knock.
Correct.
Somebody's asking a really difficult question.
Both things can be true.
That comes with difficult assessments. Okay. So you're not saying that Cade Cunningham isn't in the MVP conversation and Victor Wembanyama is. No, you're just saying if you had to start a franchise with one of those three players, that would be Victor Wembanyama, and I think most people would probably concur.
And by the way, that doesn't even necessarily mean that Wembanyama is better than Cade here and right now, because that might not even be true. But if you're starting your franchise with one of those guys, I could see Wembanyama getting even better than he is right now, and I think he will. So you got to factor that in.
Yeah, agreed. So I think you're there. I'm there with you, and then it would be Cade Cunningham, and then it would be Cooper Flag. Now, it's a small sample size of Cooper Flag, but he's been amazing. So
and if you started your franchise with any of those three guys, you'd probably end up just fine. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, I would guess so. I would think most people would agree with that. Somebody texted and said, I'm not sure about Harden. He's the big scorer Cleveland needed without giving up a ton. I don't like him because I think he gives up more or as much defensively as he scores offensively. And of course, he's getting older. I think he's been one of the most overrated. Look, he's a phenomenal scorer, period. What I don't like is I don't like players who only play on one side of the floor, and that's all he's ever done. And I also don't like him because he seems to be the equivalent to what Larry Brown was as a coach. He's always looking for the next gig, and he's not afraid to throw people under the bus. Told anyone who would listen, I'm never playing for Daryl Morey again, and he did. he's been given leeway. Hey, I want to go to Vegas. Okay, go ahead and go to Vegas. We'll stay an extra night in a town for you, right? He took a personal day off and was caught at a college basketball game 10 miles down the road, Arizona State. I don't think he's committed. This is an outsider's observation. I'm not around him every day. I'm not around practices and so on and so forth. He doesn't seem like he's a guy who's committed. And I don't know how much you can truly win with him. He has been – everybody complains about LeBron having to chase things with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And he did. He ran and chased it. And it paid off. At least they won. James Harden has chased it with Russell Westbrook and others. And guess what? They haven't won. Couldn't do it with Chris Paul. Couldn't do it with Russell Westbrook. Couldn't do it with Kevin Durant. He's been chasing for a long time and couldn't get it done.
Dwight
Howard seems like he's always needing more.
Mm-hmm.
I think you ever been in a relationship with somebody and it's high maintenance where you're always, no, seriously,
yes.
You feel like you've always got to be able to outdo the last thing you did. Oh, you brought me 6 flat roses this time. How many next time? Oh, I brought you a dozen. Oh, that's good because that's more than the last time you brought me 6. You know what I mean? Here's a nice single rose for you. But you brought me a dozen last time. Oh my gosh, right? I mean, those are the things. He feels like that kind of player for me. And I'm not into that. I'm just not. I would have done that with Harden only because of the leaders like Cade and Tobias, just like Big Ben and Chauncey when they got Rasheed Wallace. But Rasheed Wallace wanted to win, and Rasheed Wallace played at both ends of the floor. Now, he could be disruptive, a little bit of a mouth, of course, and technical fouls. But that dude I think he was a better all-around player. He brought more to the table than just scoring. And I hear what you're saying because of the leadership with Cade Cunningham, Tobias Harris. There are others who are part of that too, and slowly working their way into that upper echelon of leadership material with this franchise. I originally thought Jaden Ivey might be one of those guys. Unfortunately, he won't get that opportunity. He's gone to Chicago now, so I do wish him the best. And the injury thing was a big problem for him. Just never came back. I think because James Harden is so advanced in his career, I think there's a point in time where it's really hard to change. If you're a player and you've done it a certain way for an extended period of time, I do believe it's hard for you. What's that old saying? It's hard for a tiger to change his stripes. That's how I feel about James Harden. Here's the question. I mean, he definitely would have provided scoring. Now, he demands the basketball way too much for me. He's a guy who's constantly has to have the basketball in his hands. It'll be interesting to see how he works with Donovan Mitchell and how they get their bigs involved. Cade Cunningham is the primary ball handler on this team. It's who you want to have with the basketball, especially late in games. James Harden's an ISO guy. Give me the ball on the wing. Everybody clear out, and I'm going to create a one-on-one situation.
That was where my brain went first too, Shep, because, and I have to imagine Donovan Mitchell this was probably ran past him because he's their franchise guy. But yeah. It is interesting because they're similar in that they're very ball-dominant players, and Harden is a sieve on defense. So it will be interesting to see if he can be as effective on offense to overcompensate for some of the, deficiencies elsewhere, and how it's going to mix with Donovan Mitchell when they're both on the court together. It could work, but I don't know.
If you look at the efficiency and field goal percentage, James Harden is well over 50%. Look, I can complain all I want at age 36. He's still averaging 25 and a half a game. There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, and the Clippers aren't bad either. He was a big part of them getting to where they're at right now. They're winning games for the first time in years. So
don't you think that tells you something?
It sure does. It sure does, because he wanted a contract extension. They wouldn't give it to him. He instantly pouts and runs away.
Right. Instead of going out to earn it.
Or instead of just being content with winning. Guess what, James? You keep winning, maybe they will pay you.
Yeah, the hard thing is because of and he draws a lot of fouls. I'll say that. He's a guy who gets to the stripe a lot, at least in his career. He's getting to the line about 8.5 times per game now. in the past. I mean, he led the league at 1.6 straight years in free throw attempts per game. That's a long time. He was an elite scorer. There's no doubt. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm saying, he's a guy, if they want shooting, he's averaging 3 triples a game. Pistons could use something like that. They're not getting that from Duncan Robinson. They're not going to get that from Kevin Huerter. They're not getting that really from anybody. And I suppose there's a case that could be made. Well, you could always hide him defensively because of your other defensive players. And look, do you really want to go through that where, hi, Asar Thompson, you're going to have to make up for how bad this guy is. Don't forget Isaiah Stewart. You got to cover your guy, but you're also going to have to help off your guy because this guy can't guard anybody or isn't willing to guard anybody. So be careful with that. But we don't have to worry about it. He's going to Cleveland. Is there another move to be made? Is there somebody you could go out and grab to help you with that lack of shooting? Not if you want the Robin. I mean, unless you're going to package certain guys that you just acquired. Let me give you a quick example, all right? Because the money has to work in basketball. You know that, right? I mean, there's got to be a salary equivalent to what's going on. So if that's the case, I can honestly tell you, if you go by the trade machine, if you type that in, you can type in a player and you can get the equivalent in his salary. You could get Trey Murphy and Sadiq Bey from New Orleans for Kevin Huerter, Karis LeVert, and Dario Saric. The numbers match. They're close enough to match. It doesn't have to be exactly. The trade has to match. It's a really cool app if you think about it, all right? Would you do it? It would mean an extra 5 wins for Detroit, according to the trade machine. Would you do something like that? I would do that in a split second. And the reason I'd do it is because I know what I'm getting with Huerter. Saric hasn't been great this year, and Karis LeVert is you're lucky if he's playing. He's hurt or sick all the time. Another example, you could take those same 3 guys, Huerter, LeVert, and Saric, move them to Portland for Drew Holiday. Would you do that? Most people would say in a split second. One more for you. If you wanted Michael Porter Jr., and I can't say that I necessarily do, very good offensive player. He's averaging 22 points a game. Defensively, non-existent. If you traded Huerter, LeVert, and Saric, you could get that done. The numbers match. If you, this sounds a little hypocritical here, but Harden, I think you'd have a hard time changing into a more engaging defensive player. Michael Porter Jr. Might be a little different. So I'll try to give him as much leeway as possible in that regard, but I think there are other players I'd rather have. I know people get caught up in the numbers, and I get it, and to a certain extent, rightfully so, because that's what you need. All right, there's got to be some buy-in. If you picked up a Murphy, Trey Murphy the second, as part of a trade moving forward, he's going to give you 18 a game. He's going to start for you. He's going to be a good shooter because he's averaging close to 3 triples a game last time I checked. And Sadiq Bey is a 3-point shooter off the bench. I would absolutely do that deal. Here are some other names that I've been reading about. Just give me a yay or nay. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on these guys. You ready? Klay Thompson.
Of course.
Okay. Because?
Just reliable
reputation.
shooter. Yeah, long-time proven track record. I think he can still prolong his career if he just primarily shoots threes. Yeah.
I would guess I thought the same thing, just so you know. That was my initial reaction. Understand this. Everybody else thinks the same thing, right?
Yeah.
That's all he's going to do is hit threes, and he's averaging 3 per game. He would come off your bench for you. He's not going to be your Robin, right? He's past that stage. He was Robin to Klay Thompson's Batman back in 2015,
Steph Curry's
16,
Batman.
17. Yeah, right. Steph Curry's Batman. Yeah. I don't know, man. He's 35. He's shooting 39% and 38% from three. So the 3-point shooting, is there. Overall, not so much. In other words, the 2-point shooting isn't great, which would concern me a little bit. How much do we look at reputation? What a player, or their track record. You use the word track record, and it's a good one. Is he the same 35-year-old as anybody else when he missed a couple of years because of injury?
Probably
Maybe
not.
The injury holds him back, right? But the injury could hold him back.
But he plays what, about 20 minutes a game?
Let me look. It's 22 minutes a game.
Okay. See, I think that would be very, very reasonable in Detroit. 22 minutes a game off the bench to hit 3 threes a game.
But don't you have that? Maybe not 3 threes a game, but don't you have Kevin Huerter is going to play about 22, 23 minutes a game. He's going to hit about 2 threes a game. I want a guy, I guess this is probably asking for way too much. I want an impact player. I don't think he's an impact player. I think
that's fair.
Move.
I don't really think Huerter is then either by that standard.
Agreed.
So I'm with you. Yeah, I want more.
But that's why I said it was underwhelming for Huerter.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I think with Klay Thompson, we immediately think, and I did too, at age 35, oh, look at what he's done in the past. James Harden has done more than, from an individual standpoint, than Klay Thompson has, and you and I don't want him because he's a civ defensive, right?
Right.
Is Klay Thompson some great defender that I'm unaware of? That's all I'm asking.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Right. So that's the reason I wonder about it. And look, he was on the all defensive team. Who says he can't buy in? Let's keep in mind too, when you come to a team like this that buys in with that mindset, and it might change your mind. It might completely flip a lot of the preconceived notions we might have. So Klay Thompson's one guy. Gary Trent Jr., who was originally a second-round pick.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't been able to keep up with him much the last couple of years, but in Portland, he was pretty solid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think you'd have to give up much to get him either.
Agreed. And
not much at all.
Because I know, because we're up against it. Luke Kennard.
No. Been there, done that. I don't know. How do you feel about that one? 30 seconds before break.
He's shooting 49%. I mean, if we're looking at guys who are going to help this team, I think immediately the reason I bring up Luke Kennard is because of the negative association you had with him when they drafted him, and Klay Thompson, the positive association because he's won multiple rings. All right, quick timeout. We're back with more on X's and Bros after this.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
It's time to go on the court.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Trent Valley here, and boy, do I have a Pistons report for you all today. The 3 All-Star teams are set for the round-robin format, and J.B. Bickerstaff has both Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren on his USA Stars team set to compete with Team USA Stripes and Team World. Also, Jalen Duren accepted his invitation to the dunk contest. Asar Thompson was named January Defensive Player of the Month for the Eastern Conference, following Isaiah Stewart's same honor for December. But the big news, best for last, With Thursday's trade deadline looming, the Pistons dealt Jaden Ivey to the Bulls as part of a 3-team trade, with the key return being three-point specialist Kevin Herter. The 8-year vet is a career 37% from long range. Time will tell if Trajan Langdon is done making moves.
Football season's not over yet. You know that, right? There's still one massive game to go. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, recognizes that more than anybody else. They know you are into it. They know your passion. They want you to make every moment feel bigger. And with DraftKings live betting options, you can stay in that moment. You can live that moment bigger. Plus, DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half of the Super Bowl, you're going to get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire first half of the Super Bowl. Why would you bet player props anywhere else? New customers, here's your perfect chance in the big game. Bet $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code HUGE. That code is HUGE, H-U-G-E, and turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire within 7 days. For additional terms and conditions, go to dkng.com/audio for a limited time offer. You know, Trent, I really screwed up in my sports update.
Why's that?
Forgot to mention the Pro Bowl.
Oh, darn.
You know who won last night?
I saw the NFC was ahead 60-54 last I checked.
They won 66-52.
Oh, okay.
Who was the MVP? Guess.
CeeDee Lamb.
Good guess. Right position, right team, wrong player.
George Pickens.
Yeah.
Good for him. I don't know. I mean, great.
Antoine Winfield was the defensive player of the game. Really? I went to NFL.com this morning. As I'm sure you do, we go to a lot of different websites. One of their headlines is what we learned from the Pro Bowl.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. Like, are you flipping kidding me? What we've learned from the Pro, what is it you learn from a flag football game? I realized I flipped it on for 10 seconds. Okay. I realized, you know what it is? It's not too dissimilar from a reality TV show. What's the show where you've got to, beat everybody on an island?
Survivor?
Yes. That's what it is. It's Survivor on a football field. That's all. That's all they give a crap about. Welcome back, X's and Bros. Big day today. It's a big day. Why? Well, because the Tigers and Tarek Skubal are going to find out who wins. It's an arbitration day. Today's Wednesday. It's an arbitration day. Tomorrow is MVP day. What? Yeah. We find out who wins the MVP in the National Football League. Today, this is about a squaring off between the Tigers and Tarek Skubal's representatives. So, and this is going to be big because for a lot of different reasons. But I do wonder if the Tigers win this and Skubal gets $19 million. I know you and I'd both be thinking right now, you're driving, you're going, that's a win for me too. I agreed. Give me $19 million. Damn it. Make me a sore loser by grabbing $19 million. But if that 3-member arbitration hearing goes to Skubal, I do wonder if the Tigers use the quote unquote savings to pick up anybody else. Are they waiting to make a move to see how much money they can spend? What does that tell you? What does that say to you if that were the case? I don't know that to be the case. There is speculation about that. What kind of sign does that send to you? Framber Valdez? You can't get Framber Valdez unless you save the money on Tarek Skubal. If you're going to pay him $32 million, then maybe you can go out and get an available pitcher. I don't think he's signed with anybody yet. So I do believe there are still he's still available for the right price. Framber Valdez, Chris Bassett. Those two pitchers, for example. Nick Martinez, maybe. I wouldn't, but whatever. Zach Gallen, how's that? Can you use the money that you save to go get a guy like that on let's say a 2-year deal? Framber Valdez would be a really good pickup. He would immediately go into your 2 or your 3. Are we saying that the only way the Tigers can do something like that is if they actually don't sign Tarek's or is if they don't win the Tarek Skubal or do win the Tarek Skubal arbitration hearing today? You're not getting. I mean, you're not going after a third baseman. You're not doing Gio Urshela again or anything like that. Okay, there's nobody at third base that you're probably going to go out and get who's going to be an impact player. You're not going to get Kevin Biggio and saying, yes, he has solved our situation here. That's not going to work. But I can't help but wonder that if the Tigers are looking to save a little bit of money by getting Skubal and then parlaying the rest of that money that they could have spent or could have lost in this case with somebody else. If he wins, and I expect him to win, not that the story will go away, but then this team will basically stay the same the way it is. That tells you, if that's the case, that tells you an awful lot about where this franchise is at. Think of it for a minute. If the 3-member panel looks at this situation and comes to the conclusion that he's even worth $1 million more than $25.5 million, he's going to win. Because that's the median. That's what they look at. Okay? And we've already gone through the examples. We've gone through who, if you're Scott Boras and his agents, the people in his office, Jack Flaherty. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. It could literally be that simple. This team paid Jack Flaherty $25 million. And was the losingest pitcher in baseball last year. This team paid Alex Cobb $15 million. He didn't throw a pitch. And you want to pay a back-to-back Cy Young Award winner only $4 million more than that guy. And $6 million less than the other guy. That seems ass backwards. I'm not saying that the Tigers are cheap here, okay? Although that's kind of what they do, if you think about it. They sit there and they go, well, we are spending money. And I've said it. We spent money on Gleyber Torres, $22 million. I think it surprised them. I think it's ridiculous. They spent money on giving Torkelson and Mize and Carpenter and those guys raises. Yeah, because they avoided arbitration. Because that's the way it works. That's the system. That doesn't mean you're spending as much money as people or even other baseball teams feel like you should. You're middle of the pack. That's fine. You know, how you spend the money is the most important thing, and who you spend it on. If he wins today, and I expect him to win at $32 million, and the Tigers don't do anything, what's the message it is sending the fan base and maybe the clubhouse? I can't help but think of, when all these things usually transpire, I can't help but think of what Dylan Larkin said out loud last year. That I know Steve Yzerman didn't like it, and I can appreciate that. Chris Draper probably didn't like it either. But Dylan Larkin said our room was a little disappointed, in so many words, a little deflated, when you've got guys who are hoping that there's going to be a little something extra coming and you don't get it. That's a tough pill to swallow for some. I couldn't help but think if the Tigers feel the same way. We're expecting a little bit more, and you get Drew Anderson. We're expecting a little bit more, and you get Kenley Jansen on a 1-year deal. It's a little tough pill to swallow there. And same thing with Skubal. I'm going to make $32 million, but I've got no reinforcements. I'm going to make $19 million. Are you going to use it for reinforcements? And how does that sit? There are so many repercussions in today's decision. Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. Tim Hardaway Sr. joins us a little bit more than an hour from now at 8:18, and at 8:35, Hunter Patterson from The Athletic. We're brought to you by Meyer.
Huge here for the Huge Show that airs weekdays at 3. It's Super Bowl week 2026, presented by DraftKings and the Huge Show, X's and BrO's, and the Michigan Sports Network. They're going to give one lucky listener $1,000 in cash to wager on the big game on Sunday. Simple to enter. Just text DK to 21,000. Text DK to 21,000, and you'll be in the drawing Friday at 5:50 p.m. on the Huge Show.
From Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Muskegon, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Traverse City, Cadillac, Lansing, and beyond, you are listening to X's and BrO's with Matt Shepard only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Football season's not over yet. You know that, right? There's still one massive game to go. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, recognizes that more than anybody else. They know you are into it. They know your passion. They want you to make every moment feel bigger. And with DraftKings live betting options, you can stay in that moment. You can live that moment bigger. Plus, DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half of the Super Bowl, you're going to get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire first half of the Super Bowl. Why would you bet player props anywhere else? New customers, here's your perfect chance in the big game. Bet $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code HUGE. That code is HUGE, H-U-G-E, and turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire within 7 days. For additional terms and conditions, go to dkng.com/audio for a limited time offer. Got the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. I'm sure you've got big plans. I'm sure you're going to have people over, or you're going to somebody's house for a Super Bowl party. DraftKings Sportsbook is that kind of party. An official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60 puts you right in the middle of the biggest game of the year. And when anything can happen during the Super Bowl, DraftKings has got you covered. They've got your back with an early exit plan. If a player goes down in the first half, you still get paid in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. And if you're new to DraftKings, this is what you get. $5. That's all you got to spend. $5, and you get 300 in bonus bets if your bet wins off the $5. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code HUGE, and turn $5 into 300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, crown is yours. If someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility and restrictions do apply. The bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. So keep that in mind. Minimum odds are required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio. This is for a limited time offer. Just talking about Tarek Skubal and the big day today. You're going to have an arbitrators decide on whether or not Skubal gets the $32 million or the Tigers pay him $19 million. The object from the arbitrators is this player worth $25.5 million or more? All right. Not the 19, not the 32. They're not looking at that scenario. They're looking at, is he worth more than the $25.5 million? If he is, because that's the median. If he is, you get the 32. All right. There's no in between. You can't give him 24. You can't give him 25.5. You give him either 32 or you're giving him 19. And the reason they come up with the money that way, Boris's side, Skubal's side, is because the Major League Baseball Association collective bargaining agreement allows fifth-year players to compare themselves to any player in the league. Do you believe pitchers should be compared to everyday players? Yes or no? I would say yes, and here's why. Now, that doesn't mean that I would be voting for them for MVP. They have a Cy Young Award, and there's a reason for that. That's for pitchers. Position players can't win Cy Young Awards. I personally feel like if you're going to win an MVP, Aaron Judge, you're going to be an everyday player. That's who I would be voting for primarily. But that's just me, and I don't have a vote. So what difference does it make? If you look at it from a year ago, all right, and Tarek Skubal was fantastic. You and I both know that. There's a reason he won the awards that he did. When you look at, I think WAR is a big statistic these days. When you look at wins above replacement, he was a 6.5. It wasn't the best. Paul Skeens was better. Christopher Sanchez was better from a pitching standpoint and wins above replacement. Aaron Judge, to put it in perspective, had a 9.7 WAR. He won MVP. Cal Raleigh finished second. He had a 7.3 WAR. But the reason, if you're Tarek Skubal's side, you want to use this, and he should use it, is because there have been 25 pitchers who have won MVP. 25 pitchers, 14, was it 14 or 11? 14 pre-Cy Young, okay? Cy Young hasn't been around baseball forever, all right? So when you look at, for example, Hal Newhouser won the MVP twice. Didn't win a Cy Young. Why? They didn't have the Cy Young back then. Cy Young came into play in the early 50s. I don't know exactly when, 53, 54, something like that. Here are the guys who've won it. All right, I just gave you Skubal's numbers in terms of WAR. If you look at Tarek Skubal and you see what he did last year by winning 13 games, 6 losses, having 11 strikeout per 9, which led the league, led all of baseball, 241 strikeouts. And the WAR is, like I said, about 6.5 or so. Great whip and everything. Let's put it in perspective. Kershaw won the MVP. In 2014, he had a 7.7 WAR. That would have been the highest of any pitcher this year. Justin Verlander, he won the MVP. He had an 8.6 WAR in 2011. Dennis Eckersley won the MVP. Yeah. He's one of 3 closers to ever win Most Valuable Player, which I think is borderline ridiculous. But he had 51 saves in 1992 is enough for him to win the MVP. Roger Clemens won the MVP in 86 with an 8.8 WAR. Willie Hernandez won the MVP and the Cy Young in 1984. As a closer, quote unquote, he threw 140 innings. Think about that for a minute. Last year, who led baseball in saves? Carlos Estevez. You know how many innings he threw? 66. Willie Hernandez in 1984 threw 140 and a third innings. I digress. Raleigh Fingers, 1981, had 28 saves. He was MVP. Vida Blue had a 9 WAR in 1971, and he went MVP. He had 24 wins and 39 starts. Made 39 starts that year. Denny McClain in 1968 won 31 games. He's the only unanimous pitcher MVP to have also won a Cy Young, even today. 31 wins. Bob Gibson won the MVP in the National League in 1968 with 11.2 WAR. He was 22-9 with 13 shutouts. You want to be impressed? Go to Baseball Reference, go to Bob Gibson, go to 1968, and look at how many games he started and finished. Shep, too much old school. I get it. I understand. I'm not trying to be old school guy. I'm bringing up fascinating numbers for you. That's all. I did it earlier today with Cooper Flagg and the fascinating numbers that he had. All right. I can do it with Bob Gibson when a guy makes 34 starts and finishes 28 of them. Complete games, 28. He was MVP in 1968. Sandy Koufax was the MVP in 1963. 10.7 WAR, 382 strikeouts for Sandy Koufax. Somebody yesterday called in and said, who's a player who retired too early? I had mentioned Sandy Koufax. Amazing pitcher. Don Newcomb for Brooklyn in 1956 was the last pitcher, or maybe you could call him the first pitcher, to win Cy Young and MVP. And he did it because he was 27-7. And then there were, like I said, 14 pre-Cy Young Award winners who were named MVP. If that history, sorry if it's a little long for you, but if that's history in baseball, I'm going to that arbitration hearing and I'm saying, of course my client should be measured against everyday players. Not just because my client has been or should be, because other players have been too. Case in point, and you could use this list. I'm helping Scott Boras here with his client. It's a lot of money. Is anybody worth it? I don't know. If the market says it is, for sure. You and I would love to have just a little portion of that, especially for a lot of you out there who are in trucks and opening up your restaurants early and doing all the things that, make our lives better and so on and so forth and make our lives a little bit easier. You're all underpaid. There's no question. But based on this method, based on what their rules are, there's no question Tarek Skubal deserves the higher number and should be matched up against other players in Major League Baseball. It's ridiculous not to. When that's all we hear from teams, especially the Tigers, we hear about WAR all the time. We hear about wins above replacement. Well, he had a 6.5 WAR, like I said, a 6.6 WAR. Why shouldn't he be measured against somebody like Julio Rodriguez, who had the same? There's nothing wrong with that. I'd be doing it too. Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. Text our program, Sports Radio 21,000. We're brought to you this hour by Meyer.
For decades, saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Calling all of my fellow sports gamblers, the Michigan Sports Network wants you to bet responsibly on the big game, and the best way to do that is through DraftKings. X's and Bros on the Huge Show are giving away $1,000 cash to wager on the big game. All you need to do is text DK to 21,000. That's DK as in DraftKings to 21000. Make sure autocorrect doesn't bite you. Winners will be announced Friday at 5:50 p.m. on the Huge Show, so text DK to 21,000 now.
Back with you on X's and Bros. A reminder at 8:18, Tim Hardaway Sr. joins us. 8:35, it'll be Hunter Patterson from The Athletic. So looking forward to that, as always, to talk a little hoops. We talked hoops in the entire 6 o'clock hour. Big day for Tigers and their fans because of what's going on with Tarek Skubal today. A little bit later on. A baseball writer I noted had something very impactful, I think, and glowing to say about the Tigers' prospects. Kind of touched on this yesterday. What about prospects? I mean, are you tired of hearing about prospects? I think when teams get to a certain point, it's nice to mention it once in a while, but it seems like that's what we're counting on and living by. And you've got a lot of teams out there who are really good, and they just don't – they talk about their major league team, not their minor league guys. The Dodgers aren't doing that. The Yankees aren't doing that. The Blue Jays aren't doing that. Hell, Seattle isn't doing that. Dodgers have more top 100 prospects than anybody. Is anybody sitting there talking about their prospects, or are they talking about how good their baseball team is?
It's almost like the Tigers and the Tigers fan base got so used to being bad for a decade that they're used to talking about their prospects. It's like, guys, good teams don't do this. Not this much.
I think that's a fair synopsis right there. So Buster Olney has come out, and he has talked about Kevin McGonigal. This is a guy everybody in Detroit who follows Detroit sports knows. Everybody in the state of Michigan who follows the Tigers knows who he is. Here's what he wrote about Kevin McGonigal. No matter where he plays, he will be a fixture in the Tigers' everyday lineup by midseason and make an immediate impact. That's awesome. I mean, that's really encouraging. I mean, I love that too. Immediate impact. That would be special. Now, ESPN has him as their second best prospect behind Pittsburgh shortstop Connor Griffin. So I got to be honest with you, it depends on which website you're looking at. If you go to CBSSports.com, they have Kevin McGonigal too, but they have Connor Griffin third. Either way, it tells you these guys are really good, right? CBS says he's a polished lefty hitter with contact, patience, and strength. Summer of 2026 is when he'll be here. Not that we're going to sit there and pat ourselves on the back, but we said this a year ago when people kept saying, why don't they bring these guys up for a playoff push? My point was, I think they're going to be, they haven't even played in AAA. Not that you have to. You don't have, it doesn't have to be linear. Well, we got to start in Lakeland. That's low A. And then we've got to go to West Michigan, and that's high A. And then we got to go to Erie, and then we got to go to Toledo. No, it's not the way it works. If you're good enough and you're doing things that this organization recognizes will help this team, getting on base, walking, swinging the right pitches, squaring the ball up, putting the ball in play, something that this team needs to have, right? Then they'll bring you up. Doesn't matter if you're a double A or not. My guess is they will graduate from double A to triple A. When I say they, McGonigal, Briseño, Clark, maybe Bryce Rayner, maybe Max Anderson, move to Toledo for a short period of time before they're brought up. Not all of them at the same time, and not all of them per se this year. But I think two of them will be. And I said this a year ago. I think they'll be mid-June or at some point. Or maybe if somebody gets hurt, they would have to have a really special spring training to make the team. Because I think the Tigers would like to see them play every day more than just play as a certain role with the major league club. You want them to get at bats as much as possible. So summer of 2026. Here's what CBS writes. McGonigal is probably the single most polished hitter not already in the majors. He's a lefty who, when he's in his stance, resembles a mirrored version of Jose Altuve. There are some skill set similarities too. McGonigal can hit the ball wherever, whenever, and often with gusto behind it. He's mindful of the zone, and last year he walked 13 times more than he struck out combined across all three levels, low A, high A, double A. McGonigal has shown headlines on the base paths in the past, though last year he wasn't as successful in volume or efficiency. Defensively, he may play shortstop at the onset of his big league career and a necessity to get his bat in the lineup. McGonigal seems unlikely to remain at the 6th spot, much behind that. That's the shortstop. Pitcher 1, catcher 2, first base 3, second base 4, third base 5, shortstop 6. McGonigal seems unlikely to remain there. However, with second base appearing to be his long-term home, it won't matter. If he hits like he's demonstrated he can throughout his professional career, the Tigers will be pleased all the same. Good with that, right? Really good scouting report. Love that. All right. Max Clark is the other, because he was taken in the same draft, but he was taken in the first round. McGonigal was taken in the second round. Both those guys out of high school. Max Clark, according to CBS, who just wrote a glowing report about McGonigal, is 11. They say late summer of 2026. Long compared to Pete Crow Armstrong of the Cubs, who was an all-star last year. Clark split his age 20 season between high A and double A, and demonstrated that he's different and arguably more well-rounded player than his all-star aspiration. He hit .271 with 14 bombs, 19 stolen bags, more walks than strikeouts. See, so both guys, more walks than strikeouts. That is huge. On-base percentage, very important. If you're not going to hit for power, and I've said this time and time again, it's one of the last things to come. Everybody wants to know, where is the power from? Fill in the blank. It takes a while to get there. It does. It takes a while for players to adapt and adjust to that. Most of them. I'm not saying all, but most of them. Okay? So that is a vital aspect of growth. Riley Green found it this year. Spencer Torkelson found it a few years ago. So I think you can live with that. But getting on base is important. Detroit was middle of the pack last year in on-base percentage. It would be helpful if they've got some guys who are willing to walk a little bit more, since last year they didn't necessarily have that. You know that. We harp on, or people harped on, the strikeouts all the time. And I get it. Strikeouts are bad, unless you're Riley Green talking about it. Tigers were 5th. They had the 5th most strikeouts in baseball, but they were middle of the pack, 15th in walks. Just layman's terms. So that would be very helpful. All right. They continue. Clark could feature 5 average or better tools at maturation, including the kind of contact and on-base skills that permit him a lengthy career atop a batting order. In other words, they see him as a top half guy, probably a leadoff guy eventually. And that's the dream, right? The dream is Clark leading off, McGonigal batting second. Again, good bat to ball contact, putting the ball in play, putting pressure on the defense, guy who steals bases, leading things off, and a possible threat. Then you got a guy like Riley Green, although AJ Hinch might not do that. 3 lefties in a row might be a little much. Riley Green with some power and driving in run capability. And then a guy like, man, I don't know just yet, or maybe it's Carpenter, but that would be ridiculous. That'd be 4 straight lefties. Maybe Torkelson there, then Carpenter. You can see the vision a little bit. What you're hoping for is you're hoping for a little bit more stabilizing force at third base. Now, neither one of these scouting reports, neither one of them mentions defense. Clark, high-end defensive player. So I'd love to see that. It'd be great. And Fangraphs, as we told you the other day, predicts 83 wins for the Tigers. They predict 46% chance of winning the Central and a 61.5% chance of making the playoffs. Here's my concern, and I think it's justified. And the reason I say that is because we've seen it happen in baseball before. We've seen it happen in every sport, but it seems to happen more in baseball than anything else. So I'm going to ask you just a simple question. Tell me if you remember these guys. Tell me if you've ever heard of them. We bludgeoned you with Kevin McGonigal and Max Clark. Everybody knows them, right? This comes full circle. There's a method to the madness. Trent, tell me if you've heard of these guys. You ready?
Yes.
Kyle Drabeck.
No.
See, you've heard of his dad, Doug. But Kyle Drabeck was the 18th overall pick in 2006 by the Phillies. Okay? They traded him to Toronto for Roy Halladay. Made his big league debut, had Tommy John surgery, ended up pitching 12 2/3 innings. He was the 18th best prospect in baseball, and he pitched 12 2/3 innings. Brian Matus.
No.
Right. Number 4 overall pick in the 2008 draft by the Baltimore Orioles. And Baltimore has had at least a recent history, I know it's different management, of some really good players. Draft picks, Adley Rutschman, right? Guys like that. Gunnar Henderson. Anyway, he was number 5 in all prospects in 2010. Made 69 starts in his career, and that's it. Tim Beckham. Not the former Illinois and Toledo coach, Tim Beckman. Tim Beckham.
Not Gordon Beckham either. No.
Not a good one. Not Gordon Beckham, who was a really good dude when he was here in Detroit. Anyway, Tim Beckham was the number 1 overall pick in the 2008 draft.
Ouch.
Okay. He was a for sure can't miss everyday player. Actually had 22 homers for the Rays and Orioles. Okay. Missed the entire 2020 season. Had an 80-game suspension for PED. Never came back. Henry Owens.
No.
No. Red Sox. High draft pick. Manny Bautista. No. Adam Miller. No. Courtney Hawkins. I don't mean the former Michigan State wide receiver. Courtney Hawkins.
That's where my mind went.
White Sox outfielder. 13th overall pick. One of the top 100 players. Never got past AA. Bubba Starling. You should have heard that name. Because he was considered one of the greatest high school athletes. He was a 2-sport star. He was the number 5 overall pick in 2011, Kansas City Royals. I remember because he played against the Tigers. Called some of those games. Okay. He had a football scholarship, I believe, to Nebraska.
Didn't he only play for like a season for the Royals?
To play quarterback.
2 seasons, maybe?
He played a long time in the minor leagues. He did get a call up. Never worked out.
Okay, because I do remember that name, but I mean, I don't remember him doing anything. Of course not.
Right.
But it's just kind of a unique name that I do remember, but I don't.
Yeah.
No, he never materialized.
Jacob Turner, I brought up the other day. When Turner, who was the 9th overall pick, when Turner was, he was, it wasn't once, it wasn't twice, it was 3 times he was a top 100 prospect. 3 times. Tiger fans was like, do not get rid of him. He was number 15 overall. And I told you how he never had anything. Never sustained anything. Alex Meyer, we could go on and on and on. Caleb Cowart for the Angels. Mark Apple for the Astros. He was the number 1 overall pick. Had an ERA of 5.06. Left the game 4 years later. I'm not saying that's what these guys are going to be. Okay, I'm not being negative here. I want these guys to be successful. Who wouldn't? I mean, you spend that much time and effort in trying to groom players, and you draft them 1st overall, you draft them in the 2nd round, you draft some other guys, they're high international draft picks and so on and so forth, or you trade for them, whatever the case may be, and you kind of learn them, get them to learn your system through the system. I want them to be successful. I think it's a very dangerous practice that a lot of us are having, including yours truly, of feeling like these guys are going to come in and be the savior. If you look at history and you can understand how much of an adjustment it truly makes, or it truly takes, I should say. You and I have both seen a lot of great players play in the game of baseball, right? Ken Griffey Jr. is one of those guys. He hit 270 his rookie year. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. He had 16 homers. Okay. Again, the homers, they come. 16 is pretty good for a rookie. Okay. And he was third in rookie of the year. Bryce Harper, hell of a player, right? I like Bryce Harper a lot. 2-time MVP. I'd take him on my team any day of the week. He hit 270 with 22 homers. That's unique. You don't find that very often. All right. If you look at certain guys, you look at certain, I mean, are they tearing the cover off the ball? Mike Trout's one of the greatest players of our generation. Mike Trout hit 220 his rookie year. I mean, he only played 40 games, but you understand that it could be a tough adjustment. You could counter that and say, well, his first full season, he hit 326. He's one of the best players in baseball. He also had a ton of at-bats in the minor leagues. And I've brought this up on this show before, that it surprises a lot of people, I think. But if you look at Mike Trout in the minor leagues, he had 1,327 minor league at-bats or plate appearances. You get some, nice nurturing in the minor leagues, some seasoning in the minor leagues. And it's okay to look at it and say, you know what? I'm going to try and be as patient as I possibly can with these guys, or with this guy specifically. And with Max Clark right now, again, a little early, but he's got 1,100 plate appearances. He's going to start in AA or AAA. He'll get a couple of months down there. Suddenly you're up to 1,500 plate appearances or so. And then many teams feel like you're ready. That's oftentimes how it works in baseball. I know it's not easy. I know there's a lot of people who feel like, no, I would bring him up right now. I mean, that was the inclination a year ago. That's how people felt a year ago. And I understand that. I understand why people feel that way. I do. I mean, you want to see the future as quickly as possible. But you have to be as, and people don't want to hear this, as patient as possible. That's not an easy thing to do. You want to see Kevin McGonigal right away. Dude, he only has 818 plate appearances in the minor leagues. I'm not saying it's a steadfast rule. Everyone's got to have 1,500. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just telling you, if they don't make it out of spring training, it doesn't mean that they're a bust. And just because they do make it to the major leagues doesn't mean they're going to be studs right away. And I think it's a dangerous thing when we think, okay, that's the savior rather than some established players. And if maybe the Tigers are banking on that, and that's why they've had such little movement. We'll head to the final hour of X's and Bros. We're brought to you this hour by Meyer. Don't forget Tim Hardaway Sr. at 8:18. And then Hunter Patterson from The Athletic at 8:35 to talk basketball on X's and Bros across the state of Michigan.
Huge here for the Huge Show that airs weekdays at 3. It's Super Bowl week 2026 presented by DraftKings and the Huge Show, X's and Bros and the Michigan Sports Network. They're going to give one lucky listener $1,000 in cash to wager on the big game on Sunday. Simple to enter. Just text DK to 21,000. Text DK to 21,000, and you'll be in the drawing Friday at 5:50 p.m. on the Huge Show.
It's time to go on the court.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Trent Valley here, and boy, do I have a Pistons report for you all today. The 3 All-Star teams are set for the round-robin format, and J.B. Bickerstaff has both Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren on his USA Stars team set to compete with Team USA Stripes and Team World. Also, Jalen Duren accepted his invitation to the dunk contest. Asar Thompson was named January Defensive Player of the Month for the Eastern Conference, following Isaiah Stewart's same honor for December. But the big news, best for last. With Thursday's trade deadline looming, the Pistons dealt Jaden Ivey to the Bulls as part of a 3-team trade, with the key return being 3-point specialist Kevin Huerter. The 8-year vet is a career 37% from long range. Time will tell if Trajan Langdon is done making moves.
Football season's not over yet. You know that, right? There's still one massive game to go. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, recognizes that more than anybody else. They know you are into it. They know your passion. They want you to make every moment feel bigger. And with DraftKings live betting options, you can stay in that moment. You can live that moment bigger. Plus, DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half of the Super Bowl, you're going to get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered through the entire first half of the Super Bowl. Why would you bet player props anywhere else? New customers, here's your perfect chance in the big game. Bet $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code HUGE. That code is HUGE, H-U-G-E, and turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire within 7 days. For additional terms and conditions, go to dkng.com/audio for a limited time offer.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Super Bowl 60 deserves a sportsbook bill for the moment. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60, puts you right in the middle of the action, and they've got something called early exit. If a player goes down in the first half, you still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting, doesn't matter the player. Could be Jackson Smith and Jigba, could be Hunter Henry. It doesn't matter. New DraftKings, well, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins, and it's really easy to do it. How? You go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code HUGE, H-U-G-E, turn $5 into $300 bonus bets if your bet wins. It's in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21, Michigan only. Eligibility and restrictions do apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. There are minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio. This is a limited time offer. All right, back with you, X's and Bros. Just a final touch on the baseball thing. Freddie sent us a text and said, how about the guy taken before Justin Verlander? We brought him up yesterday, but it's a good point. His name is Matt Bush. Matt Bush was an outstanding high school player. He was drafted first overall in that draft. He did play 217 games, but only made 6 starts, and his career record is 12-11. Obviously, I mean, if you're if you are in that 2004 draft, right? And you are the Padres, because the Padres are the ones that drafted Matt Bush. You passed on Justin Verlander. You passed even on Homer Bailey. You passed on Neil Walker, Stephen Drew, guys like that. All right. But Verlander's the guy, obviously. Best player in that draft by far. He won 12 or more 13 times in his career. So that's one of those what could have been. You could have had a Hall of Famer. Instead, you drafted Matt Bush. So that's a really good point there, Freddie. So we appreciate the text, but we did mention him yesterday. The other guy I would mention, and I said this to Trent, and Trent had forgotten, and then he remembered, Alek Manoah. Does anybody remember him? Because he was 3rd in the Rookie of the Year, or 8th. I'm sorry, top 10 Rookie of the Year in 2021 when he went 9-2. The next year, he was an all-star. He started the all-star game. He finished 3rd in the MVP race. I believe he started the all-star game. He was mic'd up, I'm pretty sure. Either way, I know he pitched. I know he played because they had him mic'd up, and he was all fired up, and it was a really cool moment in all-star game history. But he was an all-star. He finished 3rd in the Cy Young. He finished 17th in MVP race. He was 16-7 for Toronto. And then everything fell apart. And he didn't play last year. He might be out of Major League Baseball. He's probably somewhere, I don't know exactly where, after 4 years, after age 24. He went from 16-7 down to 3-9, then to 1-2. He had some of the best stuff in Major League Baseball. And it was gone in an instant. Somebody else sent us a text and said, the Tigers don't want to get rid of Troy Melton. I'm not saying you should either. I like him a lot. And quite honestly, he's got the kind of arm you could have as a number 1. If you don't have, and this is early, so we don't want to get too crazy here, but if you have the Tarek Skubal move on, which would suck, right, for everybody, Troy Melton is the guy long-term now. I'm not saying that right away. I'm not saying he's going to win 2 Cy Youngs back-to-back and a Triple Crown and all that other stuff, but he's got the kind of stuff that you could see being a top-end rotation guy. How's that? If not a 1, at least top-end, a 1 or a 2. That's how I look at him. Let's get to some other text. Go ahead, Trent.
This one says, I agree with Shep is saying about Skubal. I'm not sure I agree with pitchers being compared to everyday players, though. For example, the big dumper played 135 games. Skubal played 31.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you on that. What I was saying is if I'm Tarek Skubal's agents, if I'm the representatives, I'm going into that arbitration room and saying to them, there's a precedent that has been set in Major League Baseball. And by the way, the Tigers have had 4 of them. well, 5 of them, but one guy won it twice, where they've been measured against everyday players. Prince Hal won it in 44 and 45. He was measured against every other day players. Denny McLean in 1968 was measured against every other player, not just pitchers, and he won the MVP. Willie Hernandez in 1984, Justin Verlander, okay, in 2011. Those guys were measured against everyday players. So if you're going to be measured on the field of play by your peers and those who write about your game, why wouldn't you be measured in an arbitration hearing against other players' salaries? I agree with the texter 100%. I mean, I think what Cal Raleigh did and Aaron Judge did was more impactful than what Tarek Skubal did for the Tigers. I'm just bringing up decades of precedent set by Major League Baseball. Next text, go ahead.
You weren't even necessarily helping Scott Boras make his case. You're just pointing out how massively the Tigers are fumbling this.
Can both be true at the same time?
I think so.
You're right. Here's the only thing I would ask you. Okay, I don't have an answer that's concrete and that everybody would agree on. If you were the Tigers, I want you to close your eyes, picture yourself as the general manager. Tarek Skubal is going to go to arbitration. What are you offering? Tell me what you would have offered. Because I had my number. And I think it's based on not precedent from arbitration hearings. It's precedent on what my organization feels you're worth. If I go out and I spend $25 million on Jack Flaherty, then, and I know you're better than he is, I'm going to give you at least that. Fair? No matter what you made the year before, what you've done the last 2 years for my organization, how you've made us more relevant, how important you've been in our push for playoff opportunities is more than what that guy is making. Shouldn't you feel like you are not doing your job if you go well below that? That's the way I look at it. This is not a situation where you're negotiating a contract, long-term deal with Riley Green and using that as an example. You made a mistake on Jack Flaherty. Okay. But you don't want to make a mistake with Tarek Skubal. Why would you, lowball's a bad term probably, but why would you go so far under what his worth is when you have all the numbers in front of you, all the statistics and all the financial information you need right there at your fingertips to recognize how important and how good he is in what he does? Why would you do that? So then the texter says you fumbled it. You're damn right they fumbled it. They fumbled it from a fan's perspective, from a player's perspective, and perhaps from a future player's perspective when other players look at how they do business. Not great for your reputation. Tim Hardaway Sr.'s got a really good reputation. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going to join us on the other side. He's the co-host of the Crossover podcast. He and Lindsey Hunter. He'll join us when we come back on X's and Bros, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. After that.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Calling all of my fellow sports gamblers, the Michigan Sports Network wants you to bet responsibly on the big game, and the best way to do that is through DraftKings. X's and BrO's on the Huge Show are giving away $1,000 cash to wager on the big game. All you need to do is text DK to 21,000. That's DK as in DraftKings to 21000. Make sure autocorrect doesn't bite you. Winners will be announced Friday at 5:50 p.m. on the Huge Show, so text DK to 21,000 now.
Huge here with a message to all of you Lions fans. My good friend Josh Garvey, who runs Doran Mayhew's Grand Rapids office, will join me every Thursday with former Lion Lomas Brown, and we'll go inside the Lions each and every week all the way through the Super Bowl. Doran Mayhew is proud to partner with the Huge Show, and we're proud to have a guy like Josh Garvey join us in studio every week. If you have a Lions question or comment, you can drop them at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook. Doran Mayhew, proud to be a part of the West Michigan community and across the entire state with their corporate worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan. So make plans every Thursday, 5 p.m. It's Josh Garvey, who is a managing shareholder at Doran Mayhew's GR office, with Lomas Brown on the Huge Show going inside the Lions every Thursday at 5 p.m.
Going to be joined by Tim Hardaway Sr. coming up here on X's and Bros. Just a reminder that the Super Bowl 60 deserves a sportsbook built for the moment. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60, puts you in the middle of all the action. They know anything can happen. You know anything can happen coming up this Sunday. So they've got your back with an early exit. If a player goes down in the first half, you still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. Drake May goes down, your bet settles, cash. If you're new to DraftKings, you get a chance to spend $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. All you got to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the code HUGE. Turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. It's in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and they need some help, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days, minimum odds. And for additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio for a limited time. We welcome in our friend Tim Hardaway Sr. You can follow him on Twitter at Hardaway Sr. You can also check out his podcast, Crossover Podcast. It's outstanding. Find it anywhere you get your podcast. It's he and Lindsey Hunter. He was at the game last night watching the Pistons and the Nuggets in a really good game and watching his son light it up as well. Always root for Tim Hardaway Jr. especially. What'd you think of the game last night, my friend?
I thought it was a good game. I'm going to tell you this, man. I saw the Pistons in person for the first time this year. They played hard. They played physical. They're playing a confident, really good defense. Isaiah Stewart going there. He plays hard. Of course, he always, want to get into a fight, show everybody that he's the boss of everything, which it works to his advantage, to his team advantage. And, Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duran, all-stars, and they should be all-stars. And, they played very well. I think they took Denver out of their sets. And, it was too much one-on-one with Denver, with Murray and Jokic. And they really didn't get into their offensive set. They were just too physical for them, man. I think Denver Nuggets really wasn't able to sustain their physicality on both ends of the court. And that's why they got into a hole. But, they came back. Murray made some tough shots. Jokic made some tough shots. But they came back and made the game at the end. But it was too late. That's what I thought about the game.
Yeah, Denver's in third place in the West, and they've been able to tread water with a lot of injuries. When they're healthy, how dangerous do you think Denver is in the West?
Yeah, they're very dangerous when they're healthy. Aaron Gordon going to be out another month with a strain, hamstring. So he's going to be out another month. Cam Thomas. I don't know. It's Cam Johnson. I don't know when he's coming back, but he's supposed to be coming back soon. He'll probably be coming back, if not tonight against the Knicks, but maybe next week to try to get a couple of games up under his belt before the All-Star game. And then, they just get Brown back. And so, they trying to still insert people and bring them back. But right now, it's, they still in third place now. They're still in third place. They got a tough game against the Knicks tonight. And, I think when they played against OKC, they got to have all their weapons ready because OKC is balling. They playing well, even though they've been losing tough games. But OKC is the team to beat in the NBA right now.
Trade deadline, I believe, is later on today. You and Lindsey have talked on the Crossover Podcast. You can get that podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple and all different places, Spotify, YouTube, all those different streaming services. You guys have talked about it. It's a difficult time for a lot of guys, but it also can be an exciting time during this week as you get ready to shift gears. What trade has surprised you the most that has taken place or maybe hasn't taken place so far?
What trade has surprised me the most? James Harden. James Harden asked for a trade, but with James Harden, it's all about the money and where can he go and get his money instead of a championship. I think it's about his money and which team can give him his extension for another 2 years or a year and a half, whatever it is that he can make.
We may have lost Tim Hardaway there. Yeah, we'll try and reconnect.
I'll give him a call back.
Yeah, we can give him a little bit of a moment here. Yeah, the James Harden, in case you missed it, traded to Cleveland. We talked a little bit about it earlier in this show, and the fact that here's a guy who 6 different teams, never seems to be satisfied on where he is, never seems to be happy, seems to be the equivalent of Larry Brown, where he's always looking for the next thing. And we have a reestablished connection with Tim Hardaway Sr. Look, I'm with you. I wouldn't want James Harden on my team. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I don't know him. I wouldn't want him. I don't think he's a two-way player. I think he has to have the ball in his hands an awful lot. I suppose it depends. Cleveland obviously feels differently. Why do you think it's surprising that he was moved?
Because he asked for a trade, and he wanted to go to Cleveland. That's what he wanted to do, and he had his rights to his trade rights to go to Cleveland. If he, whichever team he wanted to, he picked Cleveland, and Cleveland opened their arms up. It was like, all right, fine, we're gonna pay you this extension, we're gonna give you this money, and we're gonna hopefully you could get us to that promised land and win another championship. That's what he did, and that's how it happened. And, that was very surprising to me. Very surprised.
Kevin Huerter comes to Detroit for Jaden Ivey. Do you think the Pistons gave up on a young talent like Jaden Ivey too soon?
I think it was time for Ivy to go. I really thought it was time for Ivy to go. He needs another scenery. It was over with him here. He saw it. They saw it. And they just want him to be happy. He's a good young kid. He still can play, and they still want him, they just want him to be happy. And I think this is good for him. But you know what? Look at the Bulls, man. The Bulls got 4 or 5 guards now. What are they going to do?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's
a really good point.
What are they going to do with all those guards?
Do you think the Pistons have another move in them, and what would you like to see them do?
I don't like to see them do nothing. I don't think nothing was broken, so I didn't think nothing should have been fixed. So I think that they should have just kept what they had. But I do like Order, and I do like Socrates, and I do like those 2 guys coming in. Because it's another shooter, another guard that can play defense, another guy that can come off the bench and make things happen. Even though he's having a subpar year and not shooting well, but I tell you this. He's going to come in and make a difference with another shooter that they need to open up the floor for Jalen Duren and for Cade Cunningham. That's going to be real big for Detroit Pistons going forward.
Yeah, what's the one thing you think he provides that we don't recognize? You do, because you watch the game differently than we do. But from a fan perspective, how do you think he'll help this team in ways that we don't recognize?
You need another shooter. You need another shooter coming off the bench. You got Duncan Robinson making shots, but you don't have another guy coming off the bench making shots. Hollins, he's not making shots. Hollins is not a 3-point shooter. They just gonna look at him and let him shoot. Thomas, they just letting him shoot. They're not running out to him. You need a 3-point shooter that they know that they got to stick on. And they know that they can't come off because he's going to stick the shot like Robinson that stuck the shot like last night. And it opens the floor for, like I said, Cade. It opens the floor for Jalen Duren for his dunk and Isaiah Stewart for his dunks.
Okay. Listen, I know you're catching a flight. We always appreciate it. Your latest podcast is out, Crossover, you and Lindsey Hunter. People need to check that out. It's great basketball discussion and what it's like to be in the NBA. Find it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, all the places you get your podcast. Make sure it's one of your favorites. Tim Hardaway Sr., thanks as always. Safe travels, my friend.
Hey, thank you. I'm on my way to NBA store and sign autographs and then do a book signing for my book in NBA stores in New York.
Okay, well, plug the book for us.
Crossover from the Chicago to basketball royalty. It's on Amazon right now. Go to Amazon and get it right now. And it's about my legacy and how I grew up. Growing up in Chicago, Being a player I was playing hard, being a all-star and, being a Hall of Famer. That's what it's
Well,
about.
next time let's talk more about that book, shall we? Crossover,
Beautiful.
the book by
Yes,
Tim
do it.
Hardaway.
Let's
We'll
do
do
it.
that. All right. Safe travels. Thanks, man. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
Tim Hardaway Sr. joining us here on X's and Bros. When we come back, Hunter Patterson. We'll talk Pistons trade and more. Brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Shop Meijer and bring more good to game day with buy 5, save 5 deals on watch party fan favorites. Mix and match and save $5 when you buy 5 or more go-to party items, like select varieties of DiGiorno frozen pizzas and Late July tortilla chips. 24 packs of select Pepsi products, plus deposit where applicable, and Brawny paper towels. The buy 5, save 5 deals at Meijer. Now that's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
You are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network, but you don't need to be in Michigan to tune us in. Search XB Mornings on X or X's and Bros on YouTube.
Huge here for the Huge Show that airs weekdays at 3. It's Super Bowl week 2026, presented by DraftKings and the Huge Show, X's and Bros and the Michigan Sports Network. They're going to give one lucky listener $1,000 in cash to wager on the big game on Sunday. Simple to enter. Just text DK to 21,000. Text DK to 21,000, and you'll be in the drawing Friday at 5:50 p.m. on The Huge Show.
Hell of a win for the Pistons last night. They sweep Denver for the first time since 2016-17. They get a nice win thanks to an outstanding game scoring-wise from Cade Cunningham, 29 points, Duncan Robinson, 20 points, Jalen Duren, the other all-star for the Pistons, a double-double. Hunter Patterson was there. He wrote about it in The Athletic today, but he also spent a lot of time after the Pistons notched their 9th win in 11 outings, in his words, talking about the trade in his article. You should follow him on Twitter at Hunter Patterson and get The Athletic, if for no other reason, to follow him and his verbiage on the Pistons. And he joins us here on X's and Bros. I know it was a very, very short night for you because of all the happenings yesterday, and you were a busy man, and we thank you because of all your hard work. So we appreciate it very much this morning. So first, let me ask you about the game first and foremost. I don't know if this is a measuring stick game or not, Hunter, because I think Denver's a really good team. When healthy, I think they're a threat in the West. But Detroit had already beaten them. What did Detroit show you last night, despite having a big lead and then have it dwindle down a little bit? What did they show you last night that might reinforce and solidify your true belief in what this team is capable of?
First off, good morning. Glad to be with y'all. I think last night was, I think it could potentially be a statement win. I thought that they played well defensively. They had 26 fast break points, 20 points off turnovers. Granted, Jamal Murray finished with 32. Jokic had 24, but outside of those two, no one else had 20. I think they did a good job containing Peyton Watson once again, 4 of 11 for 17 points. And I asked JD about it during last night in the locker room, and I was kind of just trying to gauge where he feels their defense is throughout this season and their progression. And he's one person who consistently says, like, I don't think we're anywhere near where we can be by the end of the season. It was a good step for us with a team that is high quality. They send a lot of different coverages our way, but this is nowhere near where we can be.
Hunter, I'm conflicted because I think this team is so good, and there's a part of everybody who feels like you don't want to mess with success. Now, I think they're strong enough to handle anybody coming in who is new, to make sure they're adapting to the Piston way, much like they did in 2004 and in the late 90s. So I'm conflicted, but I also think if you believe this team needs a secondary guy, we'll call it a Robin to Cade Cunningham being Batman, then they obviously didn't accomplish that in the trade deadline deal. What did you think about the move made, and do you think there's another one to be made?
I think the move initially addresses three-point shooting. I know some people are probably not too high on Herter based on the fact that he is having his second worst three-point shooting year as far as from an efficiency standpoint. He's shooting 31.4% from three this year, but he's a good movement shooter. I wrote about the fact that when he did shoot a career high 40.2% from three in Sacramento, I was able to watch that season, and Domantas Sabonis was a huge help to him in freeing him up on DHO actions, and that's something that Jalen Duren is starting to be a bit more advanced with. To your point about a secondary creator and whether they could make another move, I'm not entirely sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do address that with another move along the margins, as I kind of view this most recent one for Herter. So I think it was a move that could pay dividends down the line. I think Herter is someone who can develop chemistry playing with Duren, playing with Cade, someone who could just free him up for open looks with the gravity that he creates. So that's kind of how I see this one.
Yeah, you brought up a great point in your article. We're talking with Hunter Patterson of The Athletic. Here's what he writes. Jalen Duren isn't the playmaker Sabonis is, but he's becoming more adept at freeing his teammates up with dribble handoffs. Duren has 112 screen assists this season, which is equated to 257 screen assist points. Herter's ability also, Hunter, to spread the floor would help others. But if you looked at it this year, strictly based on this year, Ivy's got a better three-point shooting. He's younger, and he's a guy you used as a 5th overall pick. Do you think this was done from a Trajan Langdon perspective where he wants to help Jaden Ivey be successful, understanding that it's just not going to be here because maybe he and Cade Cunningham don't necessarily coexist all that well on the floor anyway?
Potentially could have been that. I think the Bulls somewhat have their own logjam at the guard position.
Seems like it, yeah.
Io, they have Kobe White, who may or may not be there past the deadline, Giddey. But it seems that it could have been a move to try to give J.I. a fresh start. At the same time, though, I think it had probably more to do with the Pistons' need to address movement and volume shooting. I think J.I. obviously is shooting a better percentage than Herter this season from 3, but at the same time, J.I. was shooting 3.4 and Herter is shooting 5.1 and has never shot as few as J.I. is shooting this season. So I think it was a move just for 3-point shooting efficiency and volume.
Which trade surprised you the most, whether it happened or didn't happen? Like maybe you expected Giannis Antetokounmpo to be moved and hasn't been, for example. That could be a surprise to you. What overall was the biggest surprise, at least the day before trade deadline day?
And we're talking unrelated to the Pistons.
Correct.
Pistons in general.
Yeah.
I would say James Harden to the Cavs. I thought that the Clippers were doing well recently. I thought James had a big hand in that. And I did not at all see him looking to get to the Eastern Conference, and especially not to the Cavs. He seems like he enjoys lively cities, looking at his track record between LA, Brooklyn, Houston, Philly. So that one caught me by surprise for sure.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I just don't know why anybody would want him. I just don't get it. That's just me.
Yeah.
In your article in The Athletic, you wrote this: Herter's in the final year of a rookie scale extension that he signed with the Hawks in 2021, worth about $18 million. Dario Saric is also on an expiring contract worth $5.5 million. How attractive were those two parts of this trade for Trajan Langdon and the Pistons?
I imagine they probably played a huge part in wanting to facilitate a deal for those two, just because Ivy would have been a restricted free agent, or would have been with the Pistons, will be now with the Bulls. He'll be a restricted free agent this summer, and there's a qualifying offer that you have to give to him between, I believe, $8 million and $13 million, depending on how much he ends up starting, if he does at all for the Bulls. And there's also a cap hold on Ivy when he enters restricted free agency. So I think it frees up just more financial flexibility for the Pistons. There's no long-term commitment. There's no pressure to re-sign Herter or Saric if you don't like the way that they play over these next how many ever games over the second half of the season. So I think it's just a move that does signify financial flexibility and no long-term commitment as well.
So you're getting rid of one player, but you're bringing in two. What does that do to the roster?
They're now at 16 guaranteed contracts, and they're going to have to, whether it be waiving a player or making another deal along the margins, you're going to have to free up some space for Dennis Jenkins, who has 1 game left in his 50-game limit to remain eligible as a two-way contract player before he needs to be converted. So that signifies also that there's probably going to be more movement over the next 48 hours.
Yeah, I know you don't like to speculate, but who do you think are some of the names that might be the guy who is on the short end of that stick?
I would say Isaac Jones could be someone that, again, is, as you mentioned, you never want to speculate, but Isaac was someone who was brought in after he cleared waivers from the Sacramento Kings once they waived him.
Mm-hmm.
He's making $1.9 million, and he again would be a restricted free agent this summer. So I think that could be a move that you don't have a ton invested in him. Bobby Quintman is also making 1.9. Chaz Lanier is making 1.2, but you drafted Chaz. You made a move on draft night a couple years ago to get Bobby Quintman, so you have more invested in those two.
What was the appeal of Saric's game that helps this team, do you think?
That's a great question. He, a few years ago, I would say, emphasis on a few years ago, was someone who offered the ability to be a stretch 4, stretch 5. Since then, he's not played a ton, only played one game, he played 5 games in Sacramento, did not suit up at all for the Bulls. And I mean, he is a career 36% 3-point shooter. And funny enough, his rookie year in 16-17 was second in rookie of the year voting. But I mean, at this point, he's at best someone that is a depth piece who possibly could come in even behind Paul Reed, I would say, as someone who could stretch the floor.
Guy's been around for a bit. 10 points, 5 rebounds. When you're 6'10", 6'11", 2 1/4, you would think it'd be a little bit more than that. Hunter Patterson joining us from The Athletic. I said this a couple of weeks ago. I said, I don't know if the Pistons are going to make a move, and I don't know if they necessarily have to, but I can tell you this. The teams that are chasing them are going to. You mentioned Cleveland. Boston adds Vucevic. I thought that was a pretty key piece for the Celtics. How impactful do you think that can be for a Boston team that won last night and seems to be gaining some momentum?
I think it could be huge. Vooch is automatic double-double. 17 and 9 this year, so I guess not so automatic, but he's just really impactful. He's shooting 37.6% from 3 this year. He has been pretty available over the last few years, and the center position was somewhere the Celtics needed help. They had Nemias Queta, Luka Garza, but they didn't really have a solidified big man I think that they felt comfortable with down the stretch. David Tillman wasn't really getting much playing time either. So I think Vucevic is a great pickup for them who will certainly help them as the season progresses and they get ready for the postseason.
Lastly, and we appreciate the time, you know what it's like here in this area where Detroit fans were freaking out that the Tigers didn't do enough at the trade deadline, that the Lions didn't do anything at the trade deadline. And when you see a move that doesn't necessarily move people's needles, okay, they thought Ivy was worth more than Kevin Huerter, with all due respect to the former Maryland Terrapin. Do you think this puts them, lack of a better phrase, over the top? Does this reaffirm that this is the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, or are they more susceptible today than they were 2 days ago?
I think it was a lateral move. I don't think it was anything that elevates them too high or devalues what they already have going on. I think there's more upside potentially with Jaden Ivey as he continues to work his way back from the fibular fracture and arthroscopic knee surgery. But immediately, I think you don't have time to try to let that potential come to fruition with J.I., and that was the unfortunate part about it. You are trying to shore up your 3-point shooting deficiencies. You need to do it in a hurry. You need someone who can be helpful for you in the half court in the postseason as the game slows. And I think the biggest part of that is Huerter, and then also the fact that the Pistons, assuming things stay the way they're supposed to now with the Timberwolves pick, also will be moving up just a few slots in the draft. So I think it's a move that they're hoping will be more beneficial now from a three-point shooting standpoint. And if not this offseason, they could potentially and should jump up in the draft just slightly.
All the things we've asked, Hunter Patterson answered in The Athletic. If you don't have a subscription, it's a great place to start, and at least follow him on Twitter at Hunter Patterson. We appreciate the time, my friend. Keep up the great work. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate y'all. Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right. Hunter Patterson. Follow on Twitter at Hunter Patterson, giving us the lowdown on the Pistons trade yesterday. Here's, the thing that is a little surprising to me is Karis LeVert. I thought if there might be a guy who would move on, it might be a guy like Karis LeVert, just because he has not been what you expected him to be. I mean, I think that's fair to say. He's been injured. He's been sick quite a bit. He has not provided you the type of impact, at least I thought he could provide. He has a bit of a reputation of a guy who does get injured quite a bit, and that's the way it's been this year.
Well, and also because of how good the Pistons are at the top with Cade, with Duren, with Asar, they could win without a certain number of guys. If a certain number of guys were to go out for, some time, the fact that Karis LeVert has missed so much time and the Pistons haven't really missed a beat, I agree with you. I think it's a little weird that he just hasn't really found his footing. And if the Pistons are going to make another move, maybe he's involved.
And maybe I shouldn't be too surprised with that, Trent, to be honest with you, because he has never played a full season. I mean, the most games he's ever played in a single season is 74 with Cleveland in 2023. So
okay.
Maybe that's on me. Let's get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday and the Daily Wager, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Yesterday, we asked you this: which team is more of a surprising Super Bowl participant, Seattle or New England? What do we got?
New England, 87%. So people are shocked that Drake May and the Patriots, with that weak schedule, have made it all the way to the big one.
It's a good point, considering where they were the year before. All right, and what's the Daily Wager? How'd you do last night? And what do you got for us tonight?
Last night was frustrating as hell because I had the Pistons -8.5, and it looked like they were going to cover that with ease. And then they find themselves in a dogfight late, do enough to win the game, but they don't even cover the original line, which was 4. But tonight, the Wings are underdogs on the puck line, +1.5, playing the Mammoth. So I'll take that. I'll take the Wings to keep it within a goal. They either win or they lose by a goal.
That's the last game before the Olympic break. Let's hope you're right about that. We'll talk about it tomorrow here on X's and Bros. Our thanks to Tim Hardaway Sr., our thanks to Hunter Patterson, and to you for giving us some time on a Wednesday morning. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Huge here for the Huge Show that airs weekdays at 3. It's Super Bowl week 2026, presented by DraftKings and the Huge Show, X's and Bros, and the Michigan Sports Network. They're going to give one lucky listener $1,000 in cash to wager on the big game on Sunday. Simple to enter. Just text DK to 21,000. Text DK to 21,000, and you'll be in the drawing Friday at 5:50 p.m. on The Huge Show.
From Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Muskegon, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Traverse City, Cadillac, Lansing, and beyond, you are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at FreddieThePizzaMan.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit FreddieThePizzaMan.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
It's time to go on the court.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Trent Valley here, and boy, do I have a Pistons report for you all today. The 3 All-Star teams are set for the round-robin format, and J.B. Bickerstaff has both Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren on his USA Stars team set to compete with Team USA Stripes and Team World. Also, Jalen Duren accepted his invitation to the Dunk